My name is Vishal Singh and I am the history faculty over here. In this short 30-minute discussion, we have to talk about an often ignored portion of history, but which is very important for learning about the history of medieval India. See, the history of medieval India under the traditional strategy or theory of periodization of Indian history starts with the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate in 1206, right. However, the process of establishment of the Delhi Sultanate has its own history, right. It starts with the process of Turkish invasions of India. Right. Now, these Turkish invasions began towards the end of the 10th century and continued up to the 12th century. All right. Now, while talking about these Turkish invasions or when talking about any such topic, some things should be very clear, such as who were the Turks, where did they come from, when did they begin invading India, was this invasion continuous and constant or did it take place in waves, and finally we have to answer the all important question, that is, why did they invade India, what was their motivation. So, in this way, for any topic, not only for this particular topic, if you answer these 5 W's, you will have covered a very important aspect of that topic. All right. Further, it becomes important as a student of history to understand that what was the impact of the Turkish invasions, right. The successful establishment of the Delhi Sultanate had some far reaching effects. It brought about some major changes in various facets of Indian history. For example, it was accompanied by a number of political, military, economic and socio-cultural changes. Right. So, whenever you read any topic in history, rather than reading or trying to understand that event as an isolated event, you should try to analyze it as part of a continuous process, right. You should be able to highlight the changes. If historians have interpreted it in different manners, you should be aware about these various interpretations and also know about the most accepted version of history that is commonly accepted. The third stage would involve connecting history of the past to the present. Now, history is actually you can say bridge between the past and the present. Many of the problems, many of the issues that we as a society face in the present have their roots in the past. So without a good understanding of this past, it would not be able, you would not be able to understand the basic nature of the problems or the issues that we are facing. And finally, now this applies mostly to your mains, but our objective as students of history should be able to compartmentalize the different portions, the different topics that we are reading, gather all the information, and on the spot in the examination hall, whatever question has been asked, in an extempore manner, we should be able to construct a cohesive and complete answer, right. That is known as standardized writing. Now standardized writing is going to be possible for you only once you have covered all these previous 3 stages. Keeping that in mind, let us discuss this entire topic in detail. So what is the first question? Who were the Turks? Right. Now the Turks were a group of racially, ethnically and culturally diverse group of nomadic, pastoral, horse riding tribes of the Eurasian steppe grasslands. ठीक है. So in one sentence you have defined all the important characteristics of the Turks. You have also answered the question of where they emerged from. So what are the various characteristics? They were racially, ethnically and culturally diverse group. That means they were not homogeneous, rather there was a great degree of heterogeneity, right. They belong to various different racial groups, they spoke different languages, they followed different customs, different religions, observed different gods, etc., followed different diets. Further, they were nomadic, pastoral, horse riding tribes. So these were tribal people, and on the grassland, what is the chief occupation? Agriculture is not possible, the climate is not conducive, therefore they domesticate animals and move from place to place in search of green pastures. That is why they are nomadic people. Further, they have a tribal political, economic and social character. Acha, where did they originate? They originated in the Eurasian steppe grasslands. Now I have a map over here and I would like to point out on this that where they emerged. Just give me 1 second, I am having trouble finding it. See, now this over here is a map of Europe and Asia. The portion marked in green are the steppe grasslands. Towards the west, they stretch from Hungary right to Mongolia and Manchuria in present day China, right. This entire region in the temperate zone is known as the steppe grassland. Here a number of horse riding nomadic tribes used to dwell. The Turks that we are talking about, they originated in this region around the Caspian and Aral seas. This particular tribe of Turks was known as the Oghuz Turks, right. So here it is mentioned, the Oghuz Turks. Now, during the 8th and 9th centuries, they were driven out of their traditional homeland due to the encroachment and increasing pressure of other tribes from the east. The Kimaks, Kipchaks, Karluks, etc., they encroached into the traditional homeland of the Oghuz Turks and forced them to migrate in different directions. Alright. Now, where did they go? They migrated towards the west and the south. Right. So, during the 8th and 9th centuries, they migrated into the towards Central Asia, Persia and West Asia. During this period, 8th and 9th centuries, this region was coming under the control of a very powerful force originating from the Arabian Peninsula, that is the Islamic Caliphate. Right. So, the Caliphate, which had originated in the Arabian Peninsula, had very quickly during the 7th and 8th centuries spread to the extreme west, that is North Africa, Morocco, etc., Algeria, that was under its control, including Spain. Then parts of Greece were under its control. In the east, it had spread up to Sindh, right, and in Central Asia also the Caliphate was making its presence felt. So, these horsemen migrated into the Caliphate, so to speak. Achha. Now, these tribal horsemen had one very important redeeming quality which was very desirable for the Caliphate, that they were excellent horsemen. It is said that these people were born to the horse, both men and women from a very tender age were told how to ride the horse. In fact, another category of steppe nomadic tribals, that is the Mongols, who later terrorized the entire Eurasian landmass, they said that a Mongol rider can live on horseback for 7 days without ever dismounting, right. So, that was how familiar they were with the horse. Their services were required by the Caliphate. Now, they entered the service of the Caliphate as both regular soldiers and as mercenaries. Mercenaries, I am sure you all know what it is. It is a soldier of fortune. Whoever pays the highest, the mercenary is going to fight for them. The regular soldiers receive a regular salary from their master and they fight professionally, right. They are given training. Right. So, as excellent horsemen, they entered the services of the Caliphate in the form of soldiers and mercenaries. Now, what happened during this period was that the Caliphate became Persianized. What does this mean? Persianization of the Caliphate. So, a small comparison I am going to tell you. Initially, when the Prophet Muhammad had established his first Islamic state, he had laid down the conventions of kingship. He had said that the leader should be the popular choice. So, an element of election or a democratic mode of kingship was present under the Islamic theory of statehood. However, the Persians or the Iranians had been an imperial power for a very long time, for 300 years, 3000 years or even more, right. And they had developed the custom of a dictatorship or despotism. Right. The Islamic theory of state advocated for piety. It advocated for simplicity, and it advocated for the welfare of its people. However, under the Persian notion of kingship, all these elements were absent. The king's rule was absolute and the furtherance of state interest was considered supreme. The kings lived a lavish life. In fact, the Persians had a long tradition of declaring themselves as god kings, right? And the same kind of customs were now also adopted by the caliphate, which was changing. It was in this scenario that the Turks first came into contact with the caliphate, right? After entering the service, many of them converted to Islam on a large scale, and gradually as the caliphate weakened and they rose through the ranks to gather more and more power, they became rulers onto themselves. So, they established some powerful Turkish empires such as the Seljuk Empire of Anatolia, right, that is eastern Turkey, the Asian portion of Turkey, and the Ghaznavid Empire of Afghanistan, right. Now, the Ghaznavid Empire came into existence during the first half of the 10th century, and shortly after coming into existence, its rulers turned their eyes towards India. Three rulers you should be aware of, that is Alaptagin, Subuktigin, and Mahmud of Ghazni. Now, they invaded India on several occasions, right. So, as soon as they came to power, they began mounting invasions into India. Mahmud of Ghazni is probably one of the most well known. He invaded India 17 times, right. The first invasion came in the year 1000 CE. In this invasion, a Hindu dynasty known as the Shahi dynasty which was ruling over the region of northern Punjab and southeastern Afghanistan, that was defeated, right. And its king Jaipal committed self-immolation. So, instead of facing the you can say humiliation of defeat, he chose to pick the path of honor and committed suicide by burning himself alive. His most famous invasion of India came in the year 1025 and lasted till 1026 CE. On this occasion, he attacked Somnath, the famous temple in Girnar, Gujarat, right. The city was sacked and the temple was looted. The ruler of this region of Gujarat, it was under the control of the Solanki dynasty. Right, and the name of the ruler was Bhimdev the first. Now, instead of facing the invader, Bhima first found himself to be unprepared and left the city. Right, he abandoned the residents to their own defense. Instead, he ran away. Right, so name is Bhima and he has run away. All right. Now arises the important question that why were they invading India? Now, Mahmud of Ghazni is also remembered by his title Buth Shikan. The word Buth means idol and Shikan means to break. So, that means he had taken the title of idol breaker. Under Islam, idol worship is not allowed, and on the basis of this title, some historians have tried to conclude that the major reason for these invasions was to spread Islam. But that was not the major reason. Why? Because during these invasions, no effort was made to convert the people of India, no mosque was constructed, no madrasa was constructed. So, is this the way how people are converted? No, that is not the case. So, conversion of people to Islam or the spread of Islam was not one of the major objectives of Mahmud of Ghazni. Other people have suggested that he wanted to conquer the territory of India, but that is also not proven by fact, that is not proven by the history of this period. Why? Because he came to India, simply looted, plundered, sacked and then returned. Therefore, most historians have concluded that Mahmud of Ghazni and the Ghaznavid emperors were interested in the temple wealth of India. Right. They had heard of the tales of the fabulous wealth stored within these temples and they felt that these were soft, easy targets to gain wealth very quickly. Therefore, they started coming to India in order to loot these temples, loot the people of India. Right. Acha. Now, why did he take the title of Buth Shikan? Even if you consider, you put yourself in his shoes and you are, what are you doing essentially? You are asking people to send their sons, brothers and fathers to you, with you to a foreign land, and over there all you are promising is that they are going to live a good life, right. So, that won't be sufficient. Even if you promise only wealth, that also would not be sufficient. During this period, the fanatic zeal of Islamists was very high and therefore, the idea of using these invasions to punish the non-believers and to spread Islam, that was quite strong. So, that is what this Mahmud of Ghazni was doing. All right. Now, Mahmud of Ghazni was accompanied by two famous historians. One was Firdausi. Firdausi has written probably the most famous of Persian poems known as the Shahnama. The Shahnama. What is it? It is a mythological and historical account of Persian kings. it covers both the pre-Islamic and Islamic history of Persia, right. So, it is considered to be the seminal work of Farsi which led to the growth of the Farsi literature and language. In this Shahnama, because he was present in the court of Mahmud of Ghazni, he has included a qasida for the Sultan. Qasida क्या होता है? It is a eulogy, something which is written in praise of a living subject, right. So, from here we know about the deeds and accomplishments of Mahmud of Ghazni. The other historian, probably of even more consequence, was Abu Rehan al-Biruni. He has written a book known as the Tahqiq-e-Hind. Tahqiq, that is Tahqiqat, investigation. So, it is an investigation of India. This work is considered to be a mirror of 11th century Indian society. Al-Biruni came to India along with Mahmud of Ghazni in one of his invasions, and then he separated. He went to Banaras, stayed over there, learnt Sanskrit, translated a number of Sanskrit texts from into Farsi and Arabic, conversed with a number of learned men, and then formed his conclusions about India, its people and the society. So, he has given a very interesting insight into India and Indians. He says, for example, that Indians have a very advanced sense of mathematics and science and astronomy. However, this knowledge has stagnated, and for this he has blamed the inward looking attitude and the superiority complex of Indians. He blames the Indians, saying that the Indians think that their land is the best land, their country is the best country, their knowledge is the best knowledge, and their kings are the best of all kings. They are not ready to learn anything new from the rest of the world, and therefore their knowledge, their learning, although advanced, has stagnated. He has also pointed out the inequality within the society, the extremely hierarchical nature of the society, the Varna based divisions, the practice of untouchability, the poor condition of women, the poverty of the common people, and in contrast the fabulous riches of the temples. And this he has called as an anathema, that Indians of the bygone age were not like this, right. So, he is also aware of Indian history, all right. And further he has said that the learned men within the society are acting as insulators of knowledge. They are not allowing the free transmission of knowledge because of selfish reasons, all right. So, these are the kinds of things that Al-Biruni said. So, one portion of this topic we have covered. Now, after this comes the Ghurid invasions, but I am sorry to inform you that we are out of time, all right. Now, if we get the opportunity, I will come to you with the remainder of the topic and we will discuss it then. Thank you very much. I hope you are well and good luck.